thinking. And then you ask the questions of what specific things need to be done. Of course, we need to have a culture change. Yeah. We need to sensitize people about productivity. That it's no longer about just being on the payroll on a permanent and pensionable basis, and that you have a protected job, you can be fired, right? You can be disciplined, there's no accountability. That is the mindset that needs to change. And then have key performance indicators. What is it? You must be able to measure what the expected outcomes are. Like in private sector, you're told if your unit does not produce a profit of X, then your job is on the line. So for us, from a service delivery perspective, what are the outcomes that we're looking for? He's talked about reduction of time, turnaround time, right? If you are in trade department, why should a Kenyan who's asked for a trading permit or business permit wait for weeks? Why can it be done within hours? And outcomes in terms of digitization. Now the world is now moving from even digitization. Now we're talking of AI, right? Government services must move at the same pace. Coming to the counties. Counties are among the largest employers. The average county has about 5,000 workers. Of course, we have places like Nairobi that probably have more than 10,000. I don't know what number. But we're talking of, give or take, over 300,000 workers in counties. So they form a huge chunk of the public service sector in this country. And they contribute to the overall wage bill and payroll cost of the country. And more importantly, they are also in sectors that are critical in terms of service delivery. The provision of water is devolved. The provision of healthcare is devolved. Early childhood education is devolved. Basic transportation and rural roads are devolved. Livestock and agriculture, because that's a very productive sector. We are still pretty much an agricultural country, is devolved. So, and if we don't get those sectors right, or those services right, then overall the performance of government will not be productive or good in terms of service delivery. And this is why, in this question of productivity, both levels of government are critical, but so are also the other stakeholders that we work with, because there's an interface between the activities of private sector and public sector. Then we have development partners, right? So within public sector, both at county and national, there are also autonomous or semi-autonomous state agencies, both at the county. At the national level, and the counties also have county agencies, like water companies, for instance. So all these are critical cogs in that question of productivity. And all stakeholders then must work together, even the academia. We need to research. I was watching one of the World Cup games on my phone, and I saw the Japanese, supporters.
The fans.
Immediately, the fans, immediately after the game was over, what do?
They clean up.
They start cleaning up, right? But in our settings, what do? Where you clean in the morning, you come back at midday, people have already thrown trash by the roadside. So this culture change has to be pervasive. It has to be across the board. It has to be in the private, public. It has to be with the working partners that we work with. It has to be with academia. We have to research. Kenya is a country that generally punches above its weight, right? You can't talk of Africa without talking of Kenya. We are what now, 5th or 6th in terms of the size of our economy. But if you look at the International Labour Organization ratings, ILO, we are rated as number 21 out of 52 in terms of productivity. How can we be number 5 or 6 in terms of actual size of our economy? We are blessed with one of the most educated pool of young workers in this continent. Kenyans are very smart people. But yet, in terms of productivity, we are rated number 21 out of 52. Globally, we are rated number 142 out of 182. Why? It means our people are not productive in the public sector. Private sector has done well, but in the public sector, because of those stereotypes and legacy issues, and the belief that once you're in public sector you are untouchable, we don't pull our weight as much as the private sector does. And this is what we intend to change. That bureaucracy has to be more efficient. Its culture has to change. The outcomes have to change. The linking of reward system to performance is quite critical. In the private sector, you are told, if you meet this kind of, threshold in terms of returns or in terms of achievement, you get bonuses, it's performance-based reward system. In government, it's largely not the case. You are assured of a pay slip at the end of the month. The guy who's putting in more hours, more effort, probably might be overlooked in terms of promotion than the one who doesn't do as much. So those are the things we want to change. I think this is the conversation that we need to have as a country.
All right, and on that note, we take a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at how exactly can we ensure we're putting in place reforms that will be of impact in terms of our productivity. Don't go too far. Thank you for staying with us. Now, right now, I want us to look at the reforms that can be impactful if we, just have them in place. Mr. Philip, there's something that the government now mentioned, that we need to look at ways in which, reward systems are performance-based, even in the public sector. So maybe what other reforms do you feel, if we get to have them in place, we are going to improve on our performance and productivity?
Yeah, I don't think we really need to bring new reforms. I think just to reinforce what we already have, which is for a long time, people have just not been able to follow through. You see, we are looking at performance improvement here. We are looking at better outcomes. We are looking at result-oriented activities. We are setting targets. The targets that we set, performance targets that we set, are they achievable? Is it possible? Do we have the means to achieve that? Do we have the personnel to do that? We're just discussing now about, it has been said that Kenya has the most educated, hardworking workforce. Why is it not possible for them then to deliver? Why are they able to deliver when they are in private sector? Why are they able to deliver when they are employed abroad? When the president goes out of the country, he gets praises all over the place that the Kenyan workforce are the best that you can have. These are the same people we have in public sector, because we employ our graduates into the public sector. Why then are they not working? It means there's something, and we are looking at the targets that have been set, key performance indicators, that you are required to achieve. Are they achievable? Do you have the means to do that then? Do you have the requisite resources to do that? Do you have the money? And if you have the money, do you have the personnel with requisite qualifications, with requisite experience to be able to achieve what you want? So we need to look at that. If it is, training, improvements, if it is, we've done a lot of back matching, what do you call it, benchmarking. In and outside this country. So we go out there and we talk of Singapore and all these others. Is it something we cannot achieve? If we have gone out there and did benchmarking, why are we not then able to come and implement locally? So we have to, in our opinion, set targets that are achievable. And the target must be valued so that we are paying you for delivering that target. Because if you just earn money and you get away with it without looking at whether you are performed or not, then we are not achieving what we want. So we want to inculcate the culture of work, performance, which will be measured and rewarded accordingly. That is the main thing. That's the main thing here. And you know, we are not lacking the expertise and the personnel that will do this thing. They are there already existing in the public service. Maybe just to change a little bit, to say that I'll pay you for the value delivered. You see? I'll pay you, I'll reward you for the value delivered. If you don't, then there should be consequences for that. And public service, like in this country, it is the hardest nut to crack because we have, and when you look at it, the people that are in public service are well trained. You know, we train them annually, every day. But when they come back, what do they deliver? So we must peg that to delivery of service. The training that you get, the pay that you earn must be pegged to delivery of service. And you can only get that when the mwananchi there is satisfied that their time is not wasted when they want services. There's reduction of time, there's efficiency in delivery of service, you know, and many people are being served, you know, and they go home satisfied that, look, you know, we are getting proper delivery of service from the government. Because the money that we invest, it is taxpayers' money. This is money that are paid by Mwananchi. So are we utilizing it properly? Or are we just wasting it? This is the wastage we want to curb. This is the wastage we want to curb. That when we invest, because it's an investment, like the private sector invests money with an objective to earn, we also must invest our money, pay the employee with an objective to get efficient and effective delivery of service. That's what we are looking at.
Yeah. So you mentioned that there's no need for any more reforms. As it is right now, there's no need for any more reforms.
The only reforms that you can talk about is, of course, we are going digital now. The technology is changing, so you need to keep up with technological changes as you go ahead. But we are a bit on that, actually. For me, the main thing is to change the culture of the people. To change, it's a culture change. The people must understand you're employed in public sector to deliver on service. Because the public sector, it serves the private sector as well. You know, the services that we deliver, that we offer in public sector actually goes to engineer the growth and productivity even in the private sector. Yeah, so it's a wholesome.
The change of culture is what is coming up the most in this conversation. So there's clearly a need for sensitization, you know, in order for us to get to that point where we are able to change this culture of non-performance. So when you talk about sensitization on productivity, how does that look like? You know, even looking at from grassroots levels, how does that look like, Governor?
So I think he also touched on the issue of training and capacity building, because that's a terminology that's probably misused also, the whole question of capacity building. But we have to ask ourselves, and this training is not only at the workplace, but even in the educational institutions. If we're training an engineer, are we training that engineer to be a cutting-edge engineer, top range, new technologies? Why do we still need Chinese engineers to come here and build roads for us?
Good question.
You know. So, and if we're training doctors, and why do we still have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Kenyans traveling to India every single year on medical tourism? Those are and this is why I'm saying it's a multi-stakeholder engagement question. You know, it's not only the people who are sitting and, you know, in government boardrooms. It's got to be the academia, it's got to be the private sector, it's got to be a wider society question of how do we get our public sector to be more productive. Training is important. Supervision and review is critical, because why do people perform better in private sector? The moment the person leaves public sector and the same person gets employed in the private sector, how he is supervised, right? And the metrics of accountability change immediately. I'll give you a very basic example. In a lot of our public hospitals today, we are doing much better than we have ever done in terms of equipment, in terms of head count of staff, in terms of the availability of drugs. But one question that we're struggling with is the question of the workforce. Not in terms of head count, because we have a lot more, but in terms of their commitment, right? Because the doctor who is a permanent and pensionable employee in your payroll has a clinic next door, right? And he just wants to make a technical appearance at the hospital. The supervisor is always quarreling with him about the hours he's put in. But he has a lot more hours for his private clinic next door. And sometimes he can do almost the whole night in his private clinic and expected to work at the public facility the next morning. So that question of supervision and review and discipline, I think is important. So what monitoring framework is there? And then of course now linking it to the question of performance and pay. But also our courts have to help us. Our labor courts are quite activist on the side of the employee.
Okay.
Yes. And this way there's this mindset that once you have joined public service, you can get away with murder literally. There is nothing that will get you off the payroll, right? Because the moment you are disciplined, you rush to court. I'm telling you this from experience. And you can always bet. On a scale of 1 to 10, 8 to 10, the labor court will be on the employee's side. We're not saying the rights of the employee should be trampled on. No. We're saying the dispute resolution, when it gets to that level, should have the beneficiary or the recipient of the service in mind. It shouldn't be just about protecting the employee. And this is why we have the question of ghost workers in counties, in national government. I mean, as one time, I think I read in the newspapers, there's even ghost workers in the police force. How can you have ghost workers in the police force? And sometimes the person would appear for a few days when they hear there's what do you call, and the staff head count, and then disappear for weeks. It's always a fight, you know, having people at their right workplace, given the right hours in the public sector. But it's not the same in the private sector. If a doctor is away from his desk, consultation desk for half an hour at Aga Khan, you can bet they'll get fired, right? So those are the things that we need to, we may not need more laws, we probably need better policies, better practices, and then that taken together with the whole question of mindset change, culture change, a total paradigm shift in the way we look at productivity in the public sector. And I agree with him that the linkage there is between service delivery in public sector and private sector is so critical. Because why have we set up as a country this very broad bureaucratic arrangement? Who are we working for? We are working for the Kenyan citizen. We can't all be employees of government. right? Because government itself thrives on taxes. These taxes have to be earned from what Kenyans produce. So how do we then get our public service to be productive in supporting private sector and the average Kenyan to produce more, so that we have a bigger budget, and so that then we are not mesmerized by a 4.3 shilling budget when probably a municipality in the US or in Europe has a bigger budget than the African continent. Right? These are the questions we need to
be asking.
Yes, we need to believe in ourselves that we can actually do more, and especially in the public sector. If you are a doctor employed in a public hospital and you actually think that you're making more money in your private practice, I think the honorable thing to do is to quit and work in your private hospital or clinic and allow another doctor who has left school and is jobless, is unable to find work, to be the one that's employed to serve.
Whose responsibility is all this on?
I think I want to look at it from the setup of government. We all have a role. The day-to-day supervision and implementation, of course, is with the executive. But the enabling laws, policies, regulations have to come from the legislature. And then when a dispute arises in this tripartite arrangement between unions, the employer and the employee, and it goes to court, the courts also have to set the right tone that public service is not, there are no free lunches in the public service. So we all have a role to play, right? We all have to. The legislature has a role to play. The executive has the role in terms of day-to-day supervision. Most of the times, the unions will call a strike because of some delay in certain CBA arrangements, something that wasn't met on time. But they are quite defensive of their workers who don't measure up in performance. They even resist the employment of people on contractual basis. You advertise a role on a contract basis, and the union can take you to court to say, no, you can't put this cadre on contract. But in the private sector and in the NGO world, in the development partner world, people largely work on renewable contracts, which are performance-based, right? So this is the mindset that we need to, these are the things we need to have a conversation about. And a convention or a conference is a conversation. It's a conversation. But these conversations then are part of what you call sensitization. This is how we were able to reduce the wage bill previously from 60% to 40%. So we're now saying, can we now move the conversation from just wage bill percentages to productivity? In any case, if you can get productivity right, of necessity the wage bill percentage will come down because you will produce more. I think this is the thinking now.
You're correct, and I just want to pick up also on something that you said about, I think this conversation about the wage bill and about the terms of employment for public sector and vis-a-vis the private sector and all that, and why do they deliver more than we do? And the whole conversation about, we are looking at it, and are we making our people that comfortable in the public sector? Because when you are employed and given a PNP status, permanent and pensionable status, does that make you that comfortable that you can deliver the way you wish? And that's why earlier I said we have to have set targets, performance KPIs, what you are required to achieve. That must come in. But we have to have a conversation around the PNP element of engagement. Could that be the cause? if we were to change and perhaps have a base where you will be paid so much, the rest is on contract on delivery of service. Will that change? Maybe we need to look at that. We need to look at that so that you are not guaranteed payment if you are not delivering. Yeah? You are not guaranteed employment if you are not delivering. We need to, I know it will be a bit controversial for the people who are already engaged, but perhaps for people who are out there, they would love that because most institutions now are going on contract basis. And that's how they get value for their money. Okay? Yes, so maybe we need to have a conversation around that going forward. Yeah, as he says, that will help us to even reduce on the wage bill because now we have better delivery of service. The productivity will go higher because everybody will be looking after his job as well as, and to look after your job, you deliver on what you have been given. You perform well and you are retained. Yeah, so I just wanted to add to what...
And this is part of the wider conversation that government is having on a lot more things. How do we do things differently? The question of fiscal space, how much taxes do we collect? How much of that goes to pay debt? How much is really remaining for development? How much do we spend on payroll? Is a conversation that's constantly, at the table. And this is why increasingly government is even moving away from debt to things we called PPPs nowadays, arrangements, where government then is trying to get the private sector to invest on the asset and then the public pays for it directly, but the government de-risks or gives guarantees. For instance, how was this expressway built? At the time it was being built, there was a lot of noise. People were saying, the cost is too much. It's, But can you imagine Nairobi without the expressway today? Right? So these are the conversations. It's part of a wider conversation in government that, look here, there's only so much taxes we can collect without doing things differently, without increasing productivity. And this is why we're looking at public-private partnerships. We are talking of digitization. And of course, there'll be noises. Even with the e-citizen thing, there were a lot of noises, right? But the collections went up, right? So digitizing, transforming platforms, generally improving efficiency, mobilizing more revenue through more productivity, maximizing accountability. Of course, the question of accountability and fighting corruption and all this, that is also part of the conversation, because even this fighting of corruption within the public service also is a question of productivity. It's also a question of productivity. And corruption not only in terms of wastage of resources, as it says, but also the stealing of time. Because time itself is a resource for which one is paid. So I think this is what we intend to get out of this broader conversation, because the convention itself is not going to be a panacea to our problems, right? But it's a conversation. It's a dialogue. Yeah. It's a dialogue. And that dialogue should then set in motion a commitment to reform in the way we do things, a commitment to change our culture at the workplace, and a commitment to look at efficiency and effectiveness of public service differently. This is what we're saying.
All right. Mr. Philip, who are going to be part of this conversation? The conversation on the National Productivity and Performance Conference that is set to take place. Who are part of this conversation?
We have adopted the whole government approach. And we have every sector. We have the national government in it. We have, as the state corporations, we have the SRC, we have the public service, yeah, and we have the COGs, the Council of Governors. It's a whole government approach.
Okay.
So that everybody is bringing their input into this. Like it's just elaborated very well what the COGs are doing. Okay. And so it's a whole government approach. Everybody has brought in their input, what needs to be done and all that, suggested outcomes, what we need to, the resolutions that we expect that will come out of this conference, but mainly touching on whatever we have discussed here. Like in the space of state corporations, for example, where I am at, because we are the advisory body. So we have been working hard, to promote good governance of all state corporations. State corporations mainly, majority are commercial based. You know them. You are part of that. We expect you to be making some money, and the others are for service delivery. The others are regulatory. Regulators. We have been having a lot of conferences with the regulators to ensure that they enforce, because without regulation, all this we are talking about is nothing. Because they have to look at the policies, whether they are being implemented correctly, the guidelines that have been given, what is the problem, and and move quickly to resolve those issues, so that they don't stagnate at their space, and make the other state corporations suffer. So the regulators are very important here, as well as so we are promoting that spirit of good governance. We have had capacity building, we have had trainings, we have something we call Mongóny, which guides all the state corporations on how they should govern. We guide them, we come up with policies and guidelines, and we also advise the presidency at our space on what should be done. And so we have introduced things like performance contracting, which we monitor, accountable and predicted outcomes that we have done. We set objectives that are achievable, and all this should be aligned to the national development agenda. What we are doing at our spaces actually is to achieve what the national government wants to achieve in this country. Right. So we are supporting in that role.
All right, I'll take your final remarks, a minute each.
Yeah, I just want to add that the private sector will also be part of the conversation. Academia will be part of the conversation. So by way of closing, I just want to say that productivity in public sector is critical to service delivery. It's critical to our developmental agenda as a country. Unless there is improvement in the conduct of affairs in the public sector, there's not going to be much improvement in the wider economy or in the private sector. So we must enhance productivity, we must improve performance, we must get efficient systems, we must digitize, we must mobilize more revenue, and we must maximize accountability if Kenya has to move forward.
All right, thank you so much, Governor. Mr. Philip?
Yeah, I think what I would say is that, like I said earlier, when I say whole government approach, it is whole citizens approach. Each and every one of us should work towards achieving achieving good delivery of service. Because when you deliver, you're delivering for this nation and for yourself. So it affects you as much as it affects me and the other person. So we must take it up as citizens also to ensure that this thing is done, that there's efficiency, there's good delivery of service, so that we can achieve our national agenda and grow this economy. Because the economy will only develop if we are delivering on our part. So it's upon us, each one of us, I want to encourage us to do our part wherever we are in the positions we are, to ensure that we have good delivery of service.
Thank you so much, and very well put. That was the Chair, Council of Governors, as well as the Chair, State Corporation Advisory Committee. And this is where we end this conversation on a National Productivity and Performance Conference that is set to take place. Don't go too far. We'll be back with a different conversation that is held Tuesday, and this time round we will be talking about sickle cell. Stay with us.